Hello everyone. In this video tutorial, we will be discussing few basic things about database programming with JDBC. In today's world, each and everything revolves around the data, knowingly or unknowingly. Everyone is generating a huge amount of data every day, and these data are stored in databases. And these data can be converted to useful information later, which can be used for their profitability. Now, how to access this data from the database is the question, and who will be using that one. Most of the people who are accessing the data or inserting, manipulating the data doesn't know about the programming languages. For that, we develop softwares, and these softwares provide graphical user interface for the users who doesn't know anything about the programming languages. All they need to do is that use the graphical user interfaces, click some buttons in order to access the data or manipulate the data, insert, deletion. All those operations can be done through the software itself. Now, there are many programming languages are there through which you can develop graphical user interfaces and softwares. But in this video tutorial, we will be discussing only about the Java. Now, let's say you have one Java application, which is a software, and you're going to give this software to a particular user in order to access the data. Now, this Java application needs to connect to the database. How to connect that one? We need some kind of connectivity. Now, when you connect the Java application to the database, it has connectivity and put together everything. We can call that as Java Database Connectivity, JDBC. In order to develop any Java application with the database, you need to follow 7 steps. These are the 7 steps: importing the package, load and register the driver, establish connection, create the statement, execute the query, process result, and close. Before we start discussing about the 7 steps, let's take one simple example how this works. Let's say you want to know whether tomorrow is a working day or a holiday. So you need to call someone. So one of your friend you want to call. So you have get the mobile, that is import the package. In order to call the person, you need to have the SIM which is registered. So that is the second step. You have to put the SIM, and the SIM has to be registered. In order to establish the connection, you have to dial the number. Once the connection is established, you have to decide what to say. That you have to mention what is the thing that you want to ask. That is the create statement. Once you decide what to ask or what to say, then you have to execute that one by saying it. That is execute query. After that, you will get a response. Whether tomorrow is a working day or a holiday, that response you will get from the other person. That result has to be processed. And once all the 6 steps are completed and you're done with it, you have to close it. That is the last step. Close the connection. The first step toward developing a JDBC application is to import the library functions which supports it. That is, import java.sql. Once the import is done, then you have to load and register the driver. Driver is a software which enables Java applications to interact with the database. Now, when it comes to the loading part, if you are using the NetBeans, then you don't need to worry about anything, because in the NetBeans, the driver is already loaded. But if you are using the Eclipse, in that case, you have to download MySQL connector jar file and load it. Now, once the loading part is done, you have to register. For registering, we have one method called as forName, which belongs to the class. And this method for name takes the driver name as the parameter. There are two ways. One, you can specify the driver name as a parameter, or first you assign the driver name to a string and then you pass that string variable as the parameter to the method for name. The third step is establishing a connection. For establishing a connection, we need to instantiate the interface connection, and that can be done by first creating an object of the connection con and then use the method get connection along with driver manager. The get connection is a static method which takes three parameters: URL, username, and password. URL is the address of the database where it is. This driver manager class acts as an interface between the user and the driver. The first step is to create statement. There are different types of statements. For example, statement, prepared statement, callable statement. For simplicity, I have taken the first one. I have to create an object of the type statement, stmt. Then we have to use connection object dot create statement in order to create the statement. The fifth step is execute the query. Let's say you have one table, student info, which has two columns, name and course, and you want to fetch all the data which is stored in that table. For that, you need to write one SQL query, select star from student info. Now, to execute the query, we can use the method execute query. Now, there are different types of methods are there depending upon the operation. If you are simply retrieving the data, then you can use the method execute query. If you are updating it, then you should use execute update. And this method can be invoked using the statement object stmt which we created in the previous step. And when this entire statement is executed, which needs to be stored somewhere, and that is where result set comes. Result set is one which holds the table which is returned by the execute query. Now once you get the result set, you need to process it. But how to process it? How uh, the application is going to know whether end of the table has come or not? Whether which one to fetch, the first one, second one, third one, which one to fetch? That is the question. That is where we are going to use the method next. rs.next. When this statement is executed, it will always look for the next line. At the beginning of the program, the pointer will point somewhere between the first row. When rs.next statement is executed, the pointer will come to the next line. The next method will do two things. First, it will check whether there is any next line is there or not. And if there is any line, it will fetch that data and it will get back to you. If there is no line is there, it will return false. So when you put the rs.next into the while loop, what it will do is that first the pointer will be before the first row. When the first time the statement is executed, it will come to the first row, that is QWERTY and BCA. And using the system.out.println, we are printing the data onto the screen. Now in the statement you can see that rs.getString of 1, rs.getString of 2. Now the digits 1 and 2 represents the column numbers. 1 means the column name, 2 means the column course. Those things will be printed. Now once all the 6 steps are over, then we need to close it. For closing, we can use the method close, and in order to close that one, we need to use the connection object dot close statement. If you follow these 7 basic steps, then you should be able to develop any Java JDBC application. In the next video, we will be discussing in detail about the following things, that is database drivers, loading database driver and opening the connection, establishing the connection, creating and executing SQL statement, querying database using result set interface, prepared statement, mapping SQL types, transaction support, scrollable and updatable result set, and batch updates.